I'm excited to hear about this.
Have you played it?
I have not.
Okay.
This is high on a watch, and I want to learn about it. So teach me, Grandmaster Espen,
Okay,
about Skytear Horde.
Skytear Horde, published by Skytear Games, designed by Giacomo Neri, Riccardo Neri, artist by Riccardo Parmigiani. Okay, look.
Sounds delicious pasta.
It does, right? It does. We're talking about solo games. This is a solo game. You want a tower defense game? This is a solo tower defense
Technically, you can play it co-op. I want to make sure
you can play it co-op.
You can play this.
You can also play where one player controls the bad guys, but largely you're playing this for solo. Okay?
Yes, I agree.
This is the game. This is it set up pretty much. So you are going to be controlling a different faction, which have fancy names, but for now I'll stick with blue, red, and green decks of factions. And you're fighting different hordes out, which also have fancy names, but we'll just do, I don't know, they're purple ones.
Purple?
They're all purple, but like purple skull versus purple with like a bull symbol. What's going to go on in this game is very much you're collecting mana to play different cards. Sounds like a Magic kind of thing. But you're putting them in different lanes to fight different bad guys that are be coming out. Not only that, your draw deck is a deck of, I believe, 40 cards. And the game could end in a loss if your deck ever runs out of cards. Because what's going to go on is this row over here are the bad guys. This row are the minions. And the minions, at the end of every turn, will pillage your deck based on the number of health points they have. So 6 health points means the top 6 cards of your deck are gone. You're already way closer to losing. It is very difficult to win Skytear Horde, but it's a very straightforward experience to play Skytear Horde. So what's going to go on is you'll be playing these different cards out. You'll collect different mana. You're also trying to defeat this portal card over here, which at the start of every turn will indicate how many bad guys comes out. So it'll be like 1 bad guy comes out. Then at the end of the turn, you rotate the card because there's numbers on all 4 sides of the cards. So now that number is how many bad guys come out. Rotate it again. That number of bad guys comes out. Eventually, you'll destroy that and go on to level 2, in which case the big bad is going to come out. And the whole objective of you to win is to kill the big bad. There's a lot of ways to lose, though.
Loss.
A lot of ways to lose Skytear Horde because you're also defending your castle, which has the health points of like 20 health points. So it feels like a kind of Magic the Gathering kind of game, but in a solo setting. And that's how it's largely pitched out. This box, by the way, is not the box size it comes in. It's more of like a rectangular.
I'll grab it.
Kind of thing, which is very appealing. So box size is pretty solid. And yeah, that's Skytear Horde largely. Yeah, there's the box.
This is the box.
Cool.
Small box. There's a new expansion coming out called Skytear Horde Monoliths. And there's also like a promo deck for both good guys and bad guys. And I heard the promo deck is fantastic, but it's also like more. The game cost me like 20 something bucks on Amazon, and the promo deck I think is like 35 only directly from the retailer.
Oh
so,
dear.
Yeah, weird. But the cards play all differently. The decks do play radically different, which is nice. So there is a lot of variety in this one. However, be prepared for likely losing in Skytear Horde. It is very difficult to win Skytear Horde. Did you win, Barrows?
No, not at all. It's really interesting. It really is very tactical in the way that you're trying to play this game. The comparison is fair that they have on BGG of other competitive deck battlers that you might have played. So Magic the Gathering comes up, but even Keyforge or something that
Oh yeah,
and I liked this one quite a bit with the with just some of the decisions that you had to make about what you can attack, because you could eventually, you got to choose attack the minions at some point, because you could say, oh, they're a little annoying. And then suddenly your deck is half gone and you're like, oh man, what am I going to do? But then you've left open a spot and the monster across from you now is attacking the castle. And the castle's down to 10 hit points. And you're like, oh, but the castle. Oh, but the minions. So it's a lot of fun to try to figure it out. And my thoughts on this one were, I was very much interested in the three different factions that come with the
there's
game.
3 different factions. Red,
But
blue, green.
The fact was, there was room for more for me too, because I could see, all right, I think I figured this one, like over time, eventually, it definitely had that room for growth, which obviously you've just kind of spoken to already about more coming. But it was really interesting choice-wise for me. And I have, I got to play, like about a play and a half in of it just to really, and this was within the last 24 hours. So this is fresh in my mind. Pretty quick to pick up and figure out how to play. And it did not take me long to learn. I watched maybe half of a YouTube video at one point to learn a few questions I had, but that was just to make sure that I had everything in the right spot in particular, I think it was with the minions.
Yeah.
Because I was like, do the minions need to be here or here? Does it matter? Because as long as I'm putting the health points on them, I guess that's really the big thing. But once I figured that out, I was good. And it's a game that because you're here, I will say this is, I think, a very Mr. Rao game.
It's a very Mr. Rao game. Yes.
Yeah, don't say that.
I'm sorry. It is a very Mr. Rao game.
It is, though. It really is.
So then by the trickle effect, this will also be a Tyler game.
Well, he already said he's already saying that in the chat too. He's gonna add it to his wish list.
This sounds everything like you've said all of the right things and got the juices just flowing just in the right direction here, just to get my brain. Have the website on this other screen over here looking at the prices in Canadian dollar dues. So keep going.
Okay. All right. So we just have the retail version. There was a crazy Kickstarter one. And there is a Kickstarter campaign for the expansion. Now, the thing about this game, it's very tower defense-y. Oh yeah, by the way, this is the base. So this is what it looks like on the inside, just so you can see. Very quick to set up too. And a lot of, there is variability for sure. And depending on what cards come out and when they come out is crucial, because what's going to go on is this. There's a phase where the minions the bad guys come out, and then after you're done with your turn, the treachery phase happens. So you flip over the next card of the bad guy deck, and you don't play it as a bad guy. You just play it for its treachery, which will either be beefing up a specific guy in a specific bad guy, or doing some bad effect, and it will tell you what that effect is. So depending on what cards come out as bad guys versus treachery cards is very important, because if it comes to a point where this crazy bad guy comes out in the beginning, that could change your game completely versus like a lesser bad guy, and they're all on the bottom, So there is wild variability there because of that luck factor, which I don't like in games to some degree, It's not the worst I played with that. It's just that aspect I didn't like. And tower defense largely as a genre, I'm usually not a fan of, with one gleaming, shining exception of Halls of Hegra. Largely every other tower defense game I played hasn't really landed for me. This included like Pavlov's House, the Sylveon kind of game, like those kinds of games. Like this game, I like better than those, but definitely not as much as Halls of Hegra, for sure.
And this one, just so everyone knows, it's essentially the way the rulebook describes gameplay is there's 7 phases. Refresh phase, which you don't do on the first turn. the first round.
Well, you gain mana, which is nice, and the mana that you gain is based on what portal is out there, and it's this bar that's right here. So yeah, most you could ever have is like 10 mana, and you're using that mana to play more cards. So it's always like a balance of what cards do I play when, and should I wait for that build up? But the longer you wait, the more you're gonna smack in the face. So
yeah. There's a horde phase where the monsters come out. There's an alliance phase where you're playing your cards and using your abilities. The treachery phase, where that's the card that empowers coming out. The fight phase, the pillage phase, and then the end phase. So 7 phases, but they're really straightforward. I do want to answer this question before we get to our kind of ratings too. But Tyler asked, is it a large table presence? And honestly,
this is it.
That's it.
This is it. That's the table presence.
Just stop.
So
I'm just short of putting my credit card information into a computer right now.
All right. So again, from my perspective of my tower defense not liking perspective, but appreciate solo gaming a lot and appreciate, like, it's not like the quickest setup, but it's also not like crazy intricate, it's not, look, I'm going to give it literally the same rating as Legacy of You. It's a 7.4 for me. That's my rating.
Yeah. No, and I think it's fair.
Solid.
It's fine.
Still solid. For me, it's 7.4.
I'm saying 7.5. And I'm probably going to play this a few more times, but I think that's a pretty much, because I like tower defense games. I like solo games a lot more now than I did, 2 years ago. I partially blame meeting you for why I like solo games more now. The only one we'll probably disagree on is Final Girl, but because I like Final Girl, but 7.5. And it's solid. This is a solid game, and I think this is gonna be an 8 or higher, or it's gonna be a real
for you
big game for a lot of people. No,
okay.
I think a lot of people, this is gonna hit for you if you want that tower experience, like that defend the castle kind of. It works, and they did it really well. So
I think it's worth it for 20-ish bucks. If you can get it for 20-ish bucks, it's worth it.
Okay, so stop putting my credit card information into the computer. Okay,
I'm just saying. In my opinion, $25, I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
Honestly, this is a game. I'll be candid. Not at the full MSRP, but if this game was 50% off at some point, even though it's not usually the one I would probably play, I would even grab it. It's
don't even know the full MSRP
an enjoyable experience.